Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're tackling something that frustrates, well, pretty much everyone who's trying to achieve something great. Think about it. You set a massive, inspiring goal. You feel completely pumped up, right? You write it down in big, bold letters on your mirror, and then you wake up on an ordinary Tuesday morning and you realize that your giant, beautiful goal is giving you absolutely no practical direction for what you literally need to do today. It's a wildly common frustration. So today, we are going to unpack the fascinating science of exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how to fix it using a very specific framework.
So which goal are you actually chasing? Have you ever written down a target, something like, win the tournament, make the squad, or get that huge promotion, and then found yourself just completely lost when it came to your actual daily tasks? It is definitely not that your commitment isn't real. It absolutely is. The problem is that your goal is living at the completely wrong altitude. A massive, overarching goal just cannot tell you where to put your foot, what to do with your grip, or which of the 50 things you could work on today is the one that actually moves the needle. It's just way too high up in the clouds.
Section 1. The Goal-Setting Paradox.
To really understand this paradox, we have to look at where our ideas about goal setting actually come from. In the corporate world, the reigning management theory basically tells us to go bigger, set massive targets, make them incredibly hard, make them precise. But back in 1995, researchers Kylo and Landers synthesized a ton of sports and exercise research, and they found a completely different reality. In sports, moderate goals actually outperform difficult ones. And this brilliantly illustrates how traditional corporate business findings are almost the exact reverse of what works in sports. That management theory? It just doesn't seamlessly translate to physical execution.
A researcher named Damon Burton actually gave a specific name to this mismatch. He called it the competitive goal effectiveness paradox. Basically, what this means is that the fundamental tool everybody uses to achieve greatness works far less reliably than everybody assumes. It's a paradox, because the very thing that's supposed to drive you forward can actually cause you to completely freeze up if it's the wrong type of goal.
So, what if the reason your goal isn't working is not that it's too small or too soft, but that you only wrote down one of the three kinds? Just let that sink in for a second. Most of us just write down one single goal, but the science suggests there are actually three distinct layers you desperately need to be aware of.
Section 2. The 3 Goal Altitudes.
This is where we introduce the core solution. Sports psychology doesn't just treat a goal as one big monolithic thing. It splits goals into 3 distinct altitudes, and we need to understand exactly how each one of them functions. Way up at the highest altitude, we have the outcome goal. This is your result relative to other people. It's that burning desire to win the league, qualify for the finals, or take first place. The defining characteristic here is that it relies entirely on your placement compared to the competition, meaning you do not have total control over this simply because you can't control how well the other person performs.
Dropping down one altitude, we hit the performance goal. Now this one is strictly about hitting your own personal metrics, completely independent of anyone else. It's that specific time on the clock you want to hit, the exact score you want to achieve, or maybe the percentage of successful passes you want to make. It absolutely doesn't matter what the competition does. This goal is entirely about your own isolated numbers.
And finally, right down at ground level, we have the process goal. This is what you physically do. It's the specific action, the technique, the exact strategy you are executing in the moment. It's keeping your elbow tucked, keeping your eye on the ball, or taking a deep breath right before a big presentation. Now, most people only pick one of these 3 goals to defend. They are either obsessed with winning, obsessed with a metric, or obsessed with form. But what happens when you use them together?
Now, what's really interesting about this data is what we find in Section 3, the 1999 soccer study.
To see exactly what happens when you combine these different altitudes in a real-world setting, researchers Philby, Maynard, and Graydon ran a 5-week study involving 40 matched soccer players. They split the players into 5 groups. Group 1 got all 3 goals, Group 2 got outcome and process, Group 3 got only process, Group 4 got only outcome, and Group 5, they were the control group with absolutely no goals at all. The results? The 2 multiple goal groups, Groups 1 and 2, completely outperformed the control in both training and competition. Stacking the goals worked best. But I want you to look closely at what happened with Groups 3 and 4.
The group given process goals alone did not separate from the group given no goals at all. Honestly, that is shocking. We are constantly told to trust the process and just ignore the outcome, right? But this data clearly shows that just focusing on the process by itself, without an outcome goal to anchor it, is virtually as ineffective as having no goal at all.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 4, Why Layered Goals Work.
Understanding the deep psychological mechanisms behind why we must stack these different goals is the real secret to success here. Edwin Locke and Gary Latham developed the foundational goal-setting theory, and they identified 4 distinct mechanisms for how goals actually do their job. Goals direct our attention, they mobilize our effort, they extend our persistence over time, and they push us to develop a strategy. But, and here is the huge catch, no single goal type is capable of activating all 4 of these mechanisms on its own.
When we look at the blind spots, an outcome goal provides high heat but low direction. It supplies that burning reason to keep pushing when you're in pain, but it doesn't tell you where to step. On the flip side, a process goal is low heat but high direction. It tells you exactly what to do with your body, but it doesn't naturally provide that fiery motivation to keep going. This means they absolutely must be stacked together so each one covers the other's blind spot. When we actually pool performance effects by goal type, like in this 2022 meta-analysis by Williamson and colleagues, the disparity is massive. The effect size for process goals is 1.36, performance goals sit at 0.44, and outcome goals, a tiny 0.09. This absolutely proves that while you need the outcome goal for motivation, it is actually the least useful thing to hold in your head during the literal moment of execution. In fact, inside this exact same review, one study linked other reference goals to higher cognitive anxiety. So the takeaway, keep the outcome goal for the big picture, but focus heavily on the process during the action.
Section 5. The honest, scientific caveat.
Now, before we jump into the action plan, I want to take a quick moment to be completely transparent with you about the science. In this explainer, we look at the data impartially, and we really have to acknowledge that the scientific literature on this topic is actually quite messy. As one major review concluded, 27 applied studies were reviewed, and the reviewer's headline conclusion was that the field cannot agree on what it has been testing. I bring this up as a direct warning because it establishes credibility. We aren't here to just peddle flawless pop psychology to you. The real world of sports science is complex and, yeah, sometimes contradictory.
This review by Zhang, Healy, and McEwen looked at 27 peer-reviewed studies with athletes. They found that goal-setting theory was applied really inconsistently. The evidence on goal difficulty and specificity was totally mixed, and crucially, there is a heavy reliance on small sample sizes. Remember that Philby study we looked at earlier? It only had 40 players. So understand that layered goal setting is absolutely a real effect, but it's built on a somewhat thin evidence base. It's a highly effective tool, but it's not some absolute unbreakable law of physics.
So the crucial point is, Section 6, your 3-step action plan. We need to turn this psychology into a highly practical, physical exercise that you can apply today to start seeing real results. So here is your index card setup. Step 1. Write all 3 goals on one single card. Outcome at the top, performance in the middle, process at the bottom. Step 2 is critical. Make the process line a visible, controllable action that someone watching you could literally score you on today. Do not write something vague like stay focused. Write something physical, like a body position or specific decision rule. And step 3, on game day, execution day, presentation day, read only the bottom process line. Remember that massive 1.36 effect size gap we saw earlier? That is exactly why you must only have the process line in your head when it's actually time to perform. The top line got you into the room, the bottom line is how you execute.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Think about your current biggest ambition right now. What is your outcome goal? And what is the exact specific process line you would read right before you step out on competition day? I challenge you to clearly define both of them right now. If this framework changed the way you look at your goal sheet, make sure to hit subscribe for more research breakdowns where we always include the honest, mixed findings right along with the practical takeaways. Thank you so much for learning with us, and I'll see you next time.